So even though everyone just
Hey guys, how's it going?
Okay, it's popping up on I guess like the live stream is like always a little bit behind.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Overhyped Book Club's live show for April, which is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. We are back after a while.
Yeah, it's a little hiatus, but we're here.
And House of Earth and Blood is probably one of the most hyped books of the year. Will it be overhyped? That is to be determined by us at the end of the day. So yeah, why doesn't everyone take a chance to introduce themselves? I'm Katie. This is Katie's Book Nook. Go ahead.
I'm Michelle from Michelle Bell.
I'm Kendra.
Hi, I'm Karina from Bookish Babbles.
And hi, I'm Madison from Princess of Paperback, and I'm a guest.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Okay, so we always like to start out our show with some spoiler-free reviews. So let me add a little banner on the bottom. How do I do this? Okay.
Oh, you just had it. Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to start with our general thoughts without going in depth about anything in the book yet, because if there are any of you watching that haven't read the book and just want our general opinions, we are here to provide. So whoever would like to start, why don't we go with our guest? Can start first. Putting you on.
I know you want to do that. So my general non-spoilery thoughts is you can definitely see that she's up to her game in this book. And the fact that she, while still kind of remaining with her general themes, this is a paranormal urban fantasy rather than just being a high fantasy, which she normally has. And I feel like a lot of people, when they go into this, don't know that it's a paranormal urban fantasy. And so that it's a big thing. The beginning definitely has a lot of explanation for how this world works and how like all the different kind of sections and areas. And if you look at the map, like in the front of the book, like, you know, the different 7 kind of
Coordinates?
I don't know how to explain that. Like
the 7
houses.
No, there's 4 houses. But because there's 4 houses, I think there's going to be 4 books. That's my theory.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. But there's 7 like entry points to the city that like different areas. Yeah,
That could be a word. And so you learn about those, and do we want to, I'm trying to think of how to explain. So it's basically about Bryce Quinlan, who is half Fae, and she is kind of revered as being this massive party girl, and she works at a kind of antiquities gallery store, and she, after a string of murders that happens in the beginning of this book, 2 years later, they reoccur, and she has to get into the murders, and she has to help solve them for her own personal reasons. And doing this, she gets teamed up with Hunt Athlia, and he is a fallen angel, and he is known as being like this massive death machine pretty much. And so it's the 2 of them kind of solving who is committing these murders while also kind of understanding that there's other things kind of going on in the government during this time in this world.
There's literally so much that we could talk about.
I know. I'm like trying to vaguely.
That
was good though. Yeah,
that was so good. I'm so impressed because, guys, we were talking about this beforehand, and we kind of want to tell you guys, if you haven't read the book yet and you're here for the spoiler-free version, is don't read the little blurb that it gives you on the side of the book, because something happens pretty early on in the book that's like changes the course of the narrative, and that we all feel like I went in not knowing it happened, and it was better because I didn't know. So don't read the blurb before you go into the book, because Madison just did a great job of explaining it without giving away that early on plot twist.
Yeah,
it really shouldn't be in the blurb.
No.
Really gave it away.
Ooh.
So if we're gonna go around and talk about like how we feel about it. Do you guys want to go around and say like how much you enjoyed it? Because I could start and just by saying that like we're gonna reveal what we rated it later, but like I love Sarah J. Maas. I literally like we were talking about how much we all adore everything that she puts out, and seriously, it was another thing that like I went in reading it knowing that it would be good. Like no part of me was like, oh man, Sarah J. Maas came out with a new adult like series. Like I'm really worried if I'm gonna like it or not. Like I knew she would deliver everything I appreciated, and she absolutely delivered everything I wanted. So it was 800 pages, but I literally read it in a week because I was so absorbed into it.
Yeah.
I really liked it a lot. I've come to find out that I'm not like an author person. Like it doesn't matter who the author is to me as long as I like relate to the story or the characters or whatnot. And so like I've always liked like everything Sarah J. Maas has put out. I've loved. Like Throne of Glass is one of my favorite series like ever. So I went into this just expecting kind of like the same thing she does when it comes to her characters, and she totally did that with this, and that's why I really enjoyed that. She created really deep characters as she typically does, and she's like a master at character relations, and that's what really sucks me into the book. So I loved it because of that. That's what gets me.
I completely agree. Off of what you just said, I feel like I'm kind of similar to Michelle. Like I love Sarah J. Maas, but I also see like she's not perfect. She's not a perfect author. I don't think any author is perfect. But when I was going to read this book, I'm not gonna lie, I was very hesitant. I was kind of like, I want this to be perfect. It is a new adult book. I'm kind of nervous. And I spoke to Mika, who is a fellow trasher for Sarah J. Maas, and she told me, don't read the synopsis. A lot of world building, and I will like make a note of that. It is a lot of world building, which normally I don't really enjoy. Like it has to be perfectly done. But she finds that balance of like building good character relationships and also giving us an in-depth review of like, this is the world, this is the detailed magic system. There are limits to that magic. There are punishments for going the wrong way. And I really, really enjoyed that. And it was very good. Very, I don't know how to say it. Like it sucked me in. Like I wanted to stay in that world. And when it was coming to an end, I didn't want it to stop. I was like,
Same.
really? Like, you have to, like, I want more.
Yeah. What do you mean I have to wait another year for the next book to come out?
I know.
Do you know when the next one's coming out?
No idea.
Don't know about that.
I'll go on to my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I loved it. It's Sarah J. Maas. I've literally loved every single one of her books. So I'm not surprised that I loved it. And I thought that she did a really good job in tackling the adult genre, especially because for female authors, it is harder to break into that adult science fiction fantasy genre. And she's kind of been towing the line for a while, whereas Throne of Glass started very YA and then like kind of got more new adultish by the end. And then ACOTAR is basically like right in the middle where they branded it as YA after like the new adult market kind of like failed, but it is pretty much like on the border of adult and young adult. And then this one is just fully adult. And I think she handled it well. And I think for people that maybe are used to reading YA, it could be a little bit different going into it because, like you were saying, there is more world building, but I think that's just very typical of adult fantasy, where that like enormous amount of world building is what adult fantasy readers come to expect out of their books. But she, again, managed to do it in a way that she balanced it with the very deep and personal characters that she always makes and the relationships between them. So yeah, there was just like a lot going on in this book. I thought it was just really just a cool concept where we have these high fantasy creatures, but then we also have these like modern technology. So it's like we had like Fae, but they were like texting each other. Like I felt like reading like a fanfic, not because it was a fanfic like writing, but because when people make like modern AUs of their favorite books, like that's kind of what it reminded me of. And I think it's cool because I haven't seen anything like that was high fantasy but urban fantasy at the same time. So yeah, I loved it. I just thought it was very emotional, and to me, the climax of the book felt like the stakes were so high that it felt like a final book in a series, and just like the book was crazy towards the end, and I was literally like, how is she going to top this? Like, this is book number 1. I don't know where we can go from here because literally, like, it's just gonna get more and more intense. And I'm also really interested to see like if the tone of the story shifts, kind of how we have like that shift between Aquitar and Akamap, and the shift between Crown of Midnight and Air of Fire.
So true.
So like I'm interested to see like if the story changes directions like that at all, or like kind of what's gonna happen, because I don't really know where we're gonna go from here, just because of everything that happened. Like, this could have easily been a standalone, but managed to wrap up the plot of the first book and leave enough that like who knows what is going to happen next. So yeah, I just overall very positive thoughts. I absolutely adored it. Sarah J. Maas like did it again, and this is maybe like, I don't want to say it's my favorite book of her, because like I love Akamaf, but I think it's probably the most well written book, just in terms of having the full package of all the different elements.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to put it. And when you say like when you talked about the whole like modern but also like super high urban fantasy at the same time, I don't know if any of you, I know Kendra does, read Lore Olympus, but I feel like it was so much like Lore Olympus, and the fact that it was like,
oh my God, that like I've been telling Maddie to read Lore Olympus for literally.
I started it, and then I stopped, and I got into another one, and there's a stop.
Because I felt like it had so much of those vibes, and the fact that it was like super fantasy and like obviously like mystical creatures. And what's really cool about this for the people that haven't read it is that it's like every single mythical creature lives in the same sort of city. So it's interesting to see like them reacting, but in a way that it's like, it reminded me of just like a big city, like especially in Europe. Like that's kind of how I was picturing it.
Yeah.
And that like it was like their normal lives in it. I think that the setting and the fact that it took like, obviously it was really heavy on like building up the setting and building up like how we picture it and world building. That was like great, because there was so much world building, because there was like the world was so thought of, like the TV shows that they watched were thought of, the kind of boats that they use, like there was
the fact that they had like sunball instead of football, and like it's just like so so thorough, I think. And I really love that part of it. I don't know, I just thought the building was fun because the world was cool.
I kind of have a question for you guys. When I first heard of the book, it was described like, when the synopsis first came out, it kind of read like, oh, what's the name of the book?
Oh, like Ninth House, right?
No, to me, it was described like Cassandra Clare. What's the name of the book?
Oh,
City of Bones? I think it is City of Bones. To me, it didn't read like that. Because I can see where it is. It's like modern, and like you have all of the different magical creatures, but I don't think it's anywhere near that.
It's nowhere like near being the same. I actually had never thought to compare the two, but I guess because like at the top of the hierarchy in Crescent City is the angels, and then shadow hunters are like descended from the angels, and they fight demons, and like obviously in this world we have angels that are like full out angels that fight demons. So I guess I'll save this for like the spoiler part, but yeah, I just thought it was really, really interesting how that worked.
Yeah, I mean, I've read a couple urban paranormals before, and this, like, compared to like when I think of the like City of Glass, things like that, that's not what I would ever brand it as, whereas I would easily brand this as being more of an urban paranormal, just because of there being so many different creatures and all these different kind of myths, and just the way that it was built, yet still being done in a very modern world with like all the modern technologies, and like the way that people interact and talk with one another. And it's just, she really did blend the best of a lot of different genres together in this, and you can see like how much work she put into it in the fact that she was able to literally craft this entire world in this book without making you get confused with how things function. Like you got to sit there, you read about it, she kind of taught you it without making it seem like you were being thrown information. Nice.
Yeah.
For some authors.
She's good at weaving in information with character interactions where you'd be like, oh, we're going to like my friend's brother's sunball game, and you're like, what's sunball? And then it's like this world, you know, like kind of like that, like it's weaved into how it works. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes now, so why don't we go into the spoiler section so that we can just talk about all of our feelings. So if you have not read the book, please leave, because I would hate for it to be ruined for you.
Don't get spoiled. Don't read reviews.
But like, please just read the book. I promise you it's worth it. It's awesome. I honestly feel like we have so much to talk about. We don't even need to just like break it up into different sub things.
True.
I think just like go with whatever we want to, because there's a lot. So why don't we start with the first the first major thing that happens in this book, which is the death of Danica, her best friend.
Yeah. I think what was done really well for this, I mean, done really well as I'm like crying, is the fact, and I've seen so many people talk about it, is that it's like it is a adult novel, so like drugs is mentioned, and the fact that she was like just like so off her mind at the beginning of this book when the death did happen, that like it was almost like distorted in the way that it was written, and the fact that like she couldn't, like Bryce, when she was experiencing what was happening with Danica's death, that she couldn't like actually focus and was trying to like slap herself to wake up. It was so well done. And I think that like Sarah J. Maas just took a topic that some authors just butcher and can't get done. Hi, Leela, at all. And she took it into like a really awesome and well done way. Like she wrote it in a realistic way, kind of thing. Hey, what are you doing?
Okay. So I knew that it was going to happen based on the blurb, but if you didn't know that it was going to happen, like Maddie, why don't you talk about your experience going into the book blind and how that in the first 100 pages affected you?
I was in so much denial. It's not even funny. Even throughout the entire book, I was just like, she has to come back. Like, there's not dead. I was like, no way. I was like, you can't just do this. And it's something that Sarah J. Maas has never done before. So if you're someone who has read her books, it's not something you would expect her to just kill off the best friend in the very beginning of a book. It's something that shocked the crap out of me, to be frank. And I was reading it and I felt like like you said, Michelle, with Bryce being so high off her mind at the time, you also were just like what happened? Like, is this real? Like, what's going on? Like, you were so struggling to understand, because if you didn't know that this was like an actual, like if you didn't read the blurb and you were like, oh, someone, like her friends get murdered. When she found the blood, my thought was, I swear to God, if Connor is dead, I'm gonna be so pissed, because the book, whenever he was mentioned, because Connor is such an important character to her story as well, and especially if you read Through in a Glass, like he kind of has that same essence of Sam and the way that Sam is to Selena,
the one that never was.
Yeah, whenever he was mentioned, I literally would put a blue tab anytime his name came up, because I was like, the lost potential.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was crazy. And just the develop. Oh my God.
I also think like it's so hard to kill off a character in the beginning, and in order for it to be emotional, you need to care about the character when they're killed off. And so I was literally like, okay, like, because normally like a character gets killed in the beginning, you're like, okay, like who's this? I don't care enough about them to like them and be sad. But like within the first 50 pages, like she really explained their friendship a lot, and you just like obviously could see how special their bond was. And then she died, and you were like, what?
No, I agree. When I was reading that scene, I was at work, mind you. So I kept being interrupted. Every time a customer came in, I'd be like, go away. But every time as I was reading it, I had such an eerie feeling. You know, when you read a book and like you're truly immersed in it, I felt like even before anything happened, before she even approached the apartment, I was like, something's wrong. Like, something's definitely wrong. Like, she's drugged up. Like, she's getting messages. I'm like, something happened. I was stressing. She was going up the stairs. Like, the floor was slippery. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? She like was hearing like the drip and the drip. And I was like, oh my God, like that, just that scene. It really shows you like the author that Sarah J. Maas is, at least for me. I was stressed. And when a book makes you feel stressed, you know it's good. That's just my thought. It was great.
I knew Danica was going to die because I read the blurb. Yeah. I knew for a long time because like when the book was first, like when there was first like a description on Goodreads, I read it there. So like I kind of knew. But I read it as friend, not friends. So like I knew Danica was going to die, but I was in denial about like Connor and everyone else. And that was gruesome. It was so gruesome. I was prepared for Danica to die. I did not prepare for everyone else to die. But when he was like, she finally said she'd go on a date with him, I was like, oh, I know.
No.
It's her and Hunt in this book. I knew it already. So I was like, I just have to prepare. But it was hard. It was heart-wrenching.
Do we think that Sarah J. Maas is going to pull a switcheroo with the love interest again?
I was thinking that thing. You can't trust her.
You can't trust her. You can't trust her enough that maybe this time she'll be like, maybe we won't.
I think it's Endgame, but I think that there's going to at least be one of the books where they're not going to be together. Like, I think that they will end up, like, that's what they will be, but there's going to be some point where they're going to have some sort of a fallout and they're not going to be together for a big portion. That's definitely I can see happening.
Yeah.
I'm keeping my eye.
Figured out who the other... Sorry.
Wait, who are you going to say?
Hey, we know it's going to be this other person who was kind of mentioned in the plot, but not a big deal. It's going to be the Prince of Hell.
I don't think so.
Yeah, like the way that she was describing it sounds like the complete opposite of all of the boys that are ever in Sarah J. Maas books. Like usually they're like buff and like big and like, you know, but this
I disagree.
Like a pretty. And I was
and then every time he came on the page, I was like, he seems very familiar. He kept giving me like Reese vibes, like mysterious, you know, in the beginning of ACOTAR. I was like, who is this? Like, I can't trust it. I love Hunt. Like, he's great, but
this guy.
Also, like, since he can transform, maybe he'll have like a human form that's like buffer. Because it says like he's like described as like a teenage boy almost. So that's why I was like,
tall and skinny, blonde, blue eyes.
I don't know, but I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, but I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't know what I was doing.
But I think that Sarah J. Maas has this thing where she always pairs like the female protagonist with the most like powerful male that she they could possibly find. And like though Hunt is obviously super powerful, and they allude in the ending that he's even more powerful than we realize. But like the Prince of Hell is a Prince of Hell. Like it doesn't get much more powerful than that.
Yeah. Okay.
My theory: Hunt Stad is going to be a demon. Like he has to be from hell because that's where that's why when he saw Idis, where the freaking hell, the Prince of Hell's name, he was like, why do you have that crown? Like when he noticed that he had the lightning magic, he was like, the fuck you doing here? And we don't know who the dad is.
What if Adius is the dad?
That would be a problem.
Just speaking on the demons, I have a theory, and I call it the Yeah, well, yeah. So I called the Sarah J. Maas like multiverse theory, where she was like explaining that hell was actually a different planet. And I don't know if you guys remember in Kingdom of Ash and I won't spoil anything for Sword and Glass for those who haven't read it, but there's this one scene where she is falling through different worlds, and one of the worlds that she sees is Crescent City. So I think they're all like parallel worlds that all of her books are taking place in, and they can connect to one another.
I love that theory. Oh my god.
Amryn came from, because remember, Amryn came from a different world and had a different form and all that kind of stuff.
She
That
was
is
like
she's in a human body.
fire bird or something like that. Yeah.
I would love it if that was true.
Yeah.
But Sarah
I
just
kind of want to confirm it, please.
true. I'm confirming it. It's true.
I
I'm good authority that it's true.
read something on Tumblr because after I finished the book, I was like, I'm going on Tumblr. But, like, I haven't gone on for ages. I'm like, if there's anywhere I can find theories, that's where I'm going to find it. And I didn't. And as I read Crescent City, I saw something at the very end, and I was like, this sounds familiar, but I really didn't think much about it. And then it was the Book of Breathings that is mentioned. And it wasn't, I know, and it wasn't until I saw on Tumblr that the reason why it was so familiar is because the Book of Breathings is mentioned in Akamath.
Yeah, isn't that the book that they use the spells for?
Yes.
That they go on the mission.
And that's the one where Amryn can't understand the language of it, and then you can't understand the language on the back of her back. And I was like,
Oh my god. You just
They're
blew
all
my mind.
connected so well.
You're literally all sitting here with their mouths.
I mean, like, I did a deep dive. I was like,
Wow, that is such a good and I know like she always plants little things that come back in a big way in the end, such as in this book, the big thing was when they were at the club and Fury was like, don't take that drug.
Yes.
And that was like the major plot point, and I was like, which I feel like we haven't even touched on the mystery.
anything.
Yeah. It's also a mystery, and I think it just like unfolded in such a clever way where you constantly could not figure out what was going on. It was great.
Yeah.
With Bryce always siding with Danica, despite her being dead, she was always looking at this rational point of view. So she always was looking at things through a different lens than everyone else was. So that's what was like so confusing, because you were like, well, do you believe Bryce, or do you believe what everyone else is trying to say?
Yeah, because Bryce was always like, Danica would never do that. Danica would never do that. Danica would never do that. And in the end, it turns out that like Danica so much more went into it. And also like the fact that like if you had paid attention to the scene where Bryce saves the angel, I remember like thinking about this, that like the angel was described as like super white wings, and when you like learn more about angels later on, like you do see that I think their rank is somewhat like determined by their wing color, which like I was like, is this like a metaphor for, because I do believe that like Hunt has darker wings and he also has darker skin, but then Micah has like really white skin and really white wings, and then like all the ones in power have super white wings. But if you like, I don't know, like maybe caught on to the fact that she like saved like an angel with like really, really white wings, you could have like realized that it was.
That surprised me. I was like, what?
Oh yeah, I screamed.
And also just like the fact that we're like trying to chase down this demon, and we think this demon is a corporate, and it's like, all right, like once we get
JK LOL.
like, well, no, it's just like, oh, just kidding, it's just a side effect, like this whole lead that
It's a little byproduct. And I was like,
what? Like what? Sorry, what?
Gosh. Okay, about the big reveal of like who it was that was like causing everything, I didn't love that it was. Is it Mika? Is that his name? I just feel like I've seen the like I love the way she did it. I adored everything about it. But I've seen the big bad ruler played a little too many times as a trope that I kind of like. If it was someone else, if it was maybe not the serpent or the serpent viper queen or whatever, because she was super cool. But if it was someone like we really didn't expect, I think I'd like, I mean, I still adored it and everything about it, but I just feel like that trope is done so much where it's like, oh, it's obviously the man, it's literally the like president of the city.
The governor, yeah.
But, like, I think that it's the first book, so he's clearly not like the biggest player.
Oh yeah.
There's someone else pulling the strings. And like I agree, but it has to be someone that makes sense. But I wasn't expecting it because I was like, oh, he just
was I.
killer. So
I saw it from a mile away. I was like,
Did you?
are in control. Yeah, I was. This is the thing with the Sarah J. Maas. If I can like fault her for one thing is that sometimes her villains, like, they're not the best, but it's okay, we still love her. But if I need to pick like one thing that I didn't like about this book is the fact that he was the villain, because it, at least to me, I'm the kind of person I can pinpoint a villain. Like as soon as he comes on the page, I will most likely know like you're the bad guy, and I knew straight away. Like
I didn't know. I was like, it's kind of fishy, like, okay.
I knew that he was bad, but I didn't realize that he would be the one involved. And I think that the reason she kind of got me off it is that Nika was the one who sent them on the task looking for the murderer to begin with. So that was kind of cool that it was like he was the one, even though it was him doing the murders.
Well, I also knew that he was bad because like the whole hierarchy of the angels is bad. So I was like, oh, like he's actually like this ruler that's like abusing his power, but I didn't think it was tied into Danica. Like,
yeah.
Well, and I also, because you had the other angel, like Sabriel, whatever the
Sabriel, is that?
Because you had her as also being such a bad like archangel that I never, when we compared Micah to her, like it just didn't seem like he was going to be that bad. Like you kind of, she was just so evil in comparison that it just didn't seem like. That's why I didn't see it. I was like, he's a bit of a shit, but not a literal.
Yeah, especially when he kind of went soft on Hunt with like when he did very bad things, it kind of made you think, oh, he's not that bad. But I just always have this feeling like in the back of my head, like can't trust him. You never know. He's a slave. He can do with him as he wishes. I saw it as he wants to keep him alive longer so that he can take advantage of him longer. It's not because he cares for him at all.
Yeah, I feel like just giving him that like mission is just to motivate him, and he would never have actually freed him.
Mm-hmm.
Hunt has to believe that he would, so he's motivated to do all the dirty work because like you're literally a slave, like you don't really have a lot of motivation to do things.
I thought the idea, just with the whole book and in general, the idea of the slave like tattoos that they all have, that was a very interesting choice that she made with that. And then also
SPQM is like the thing from ancient Rome.
Yeah. Learned that from Percy Jackson.
The same thing first, and I was like, SPQR.
Yeah.
M or is it SPQR that's on their wrists?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
QM.
Yeah, but it's similar.
SPQR is the one that's the actual Sandus Populus Romanus, which is in Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as what's gonna. Sorry, as far as like what's gonna happen in the next things, I can see the angel. I forget what they're called. The ones that like rule everything. That like don't.
Asteri.
What? Sorry.
The Asteri, I think.
Asteri. Okay, yeah, they're totally gonna be taken down by Bryce and Hunt. Like that is definitely the direction that these books are going. Whether it's gonna be a huge war, because obviously her books have like a main theme of like a really big war, as like most fantasy novels do. Like that's the direction that this is heading.
I agree.
Like, we feel that.
We don't really know a lot of about the Asteri yet. Like they remained shrouded in mystery, I feel like.
So I was listening to a like an interview that she did, Sarah J. Maas, and she was talking a lot about Adis, the Prince of Howl's character in that, and how even though he kind of was only so little in this book, like she has a lot of huge plans for him, and in the next book we're actually going to be meeting the other princes. So I think that we might see a huge, like I think that because we had those portals opening, we might actually end up seeing a battle between Hell and then
then Reese swoops in and he's like, I'm here to save the day.
I'm still waiting till we see Aelin coming through the sky. Like she has to come through at some point in this.
Yeah.
When we will see her going through, but she's gonna happen.
Yeah. So let's talk about like some of the other side characters that we didn't touch on yet. So I want to talk about Rune.
Ooh. Love him. I absolutely love him. For a second, I thought she was gonna pull a Cassie Clare with the gross like.
Oh yeah.
I literally was like looking like. I think Hunt asked a question like, "Have you guys ever dated?" And I was like, "Do not. You're better than this." But then she didn't, and I was glad. And I love him. I love their relationship. It honestly reminds me of my relationship with my brother. It's a strange relationship, but there's a lot of love, and I felt like it was great representation of like sibling bonds and like the struggles that you go with, especially when you are like put under the pressure of your family. It was perfect. I loved it.
I loved his character. I really did. He grew on me very quickly, and his friends did as well. I loved his friends, especially towards the end of the book when you got to see a lot more of his like other two friends. Like I really hope we get to see more of them.
I think we're gonna get more of them. I think we're gonna get more of Fury and Juniper because it mentioned that it was a thing, and I was like,
"Hey, why?"
That's it.
I saw a meme that was like, "Just drop it in to sprinkle some gay and leave," and I was like,
"It'll become like more of a thing in the next book because that is like obviously one of the main criticisms of her works most of the time, and especially people weren't happy with how Moore's sexuality was handled because it seemed very like after the fact, I guess. But so hopefully it's like hinted at in this one, and then it will become more of like a plot point in the future. And then,
needs to have more of a. She needs another friend. Like since she lost Danica, I think we're going to see a lot more of her relationship with Juniper as it is in the next book.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's a lot more to do with Fury too. Like Fury's another one of those characters that like she's sprinkled in there, but like she's gonna be more important later.
Family has some sort of role that is like important and connected, but we don't know it yet.
Yeah,
we don't even know what she is.
It's like assassin thing, and Bryce is like, yeah, we just like don't question it. We just
identified her. So like she has a pretty big reputation doing what she does.
Everyone's afraid of her.
Story. She showed up at that like the summit for the house of like the evil house or like the dead house, and right.
I thought that they didn't know what circle she was in.
I thought
like,
she was like
in her own. Like she wasn't with Jessica because Jessica was the only one from the House of Flame and Shadow. She was the only representative for them.
Oh wait, I just opened up to a random page and I just need to mention that we had another period scene in this book.
Oh yeah, I love it. She always talks about periods.
And she always talks about periods, and I'm like, in the fantasy world, you still period.
Every 3 months for the half fae.
It's like for the full-blooded fae in ACOTAR, it was every 6 months, right? So does that mean that they're like descended from like the same world?
Yeah, I definitely love how she includes that. And also, I forget, did they talk about, because I know contraception is definitely something that's talked about in her other two series, but I don't think we've gone.
I don't think so, because they never actually had sex.
No, everything kept interrupting them every single time.
That like, that was actually a complaint. I saw some people complaining about this book that there wasn't like enough sex, but like to be an adult, it's not adult just from like the sexual content. It's adult that it's written and the other content warnings. And I still feel like there was enough smut, even if there wasn't like a sex scene. There was still enough that like
the sexual tension, dudes, was
the sexual tension was good, and there's gonna be more in this future, so I'm not worried. But like if they got together too soon, like it just wouldn't be as satisfying. You need to have something.
I think that's good because there's a stigma behind new adult that it's all about that, and she literally like turned it on its head and was like, they have a great connection, they really want to be with each other, like they're gonna rip each other's clothes off, but not yet, you gotta wait for it, like the world is here. Like I love that because it focused, there was a focus on their relationship and their connection, but also this is the plot, okay? It's not just about them. This is happening, this is big, this comes before the love. Does that make sense? And I really enjoyed that.
I think another good point to make is because I've seen a lot of people talk about this, is this book is very rife with the idea of how, because Bryce is half fae and she's seen as just, basically she gets slut shamed multiple times throughout this book. You know, it's a very prominent thing that happens, and it's a very massive story. And I think that, you know, especially with the way that she's treated by the wolves, especially, and you know, that scene that is about, you know, the whole 2 winters ago scene that happened. And it's definitely like, I love how Sarah J. Maas tries to show that, you know, women are allowed their own sexuality and their own sexual freedom, but regardless of, even though women are allowed to have that, people are still going to judge them, and how difficult that is to go through and the mental toll it has on people. And I literally, the first time I cried during this book was actually during the scene where she talked about the 2 winters ago and like how she almost did commit suicide. And I remember I texted Katie and I was like, bro, I'm already crying. And she goes, oh, those last 200 pages. And I go, I'm only on page 400. Like, how much more is going to happen?
I just feel like the way that sex in general was handled in this book is done so well. We see like Bryce having like hookups and like having, even if like Hunt is like going to be the only romantic interest, say she doesn't introduce another romantic interest, like it still talks about like Bryce's party girl past, and the fact that she liked to hook up with people and like it was fun for her and like she didn't feel bad about it, but people judged her for it and constantly judged her because she was half fae and she like had a lot of discrimination against her basically because it's like she kind of has created her own like race and ethnicity system with the different houses and the different things. So like because she has like less than pure fae blood, like she's seen as lesser. And one thing that I also kind of really liked about this book with Bryce's powers in the end, where she ended up being Starborn.
Bro, that I was like, oh my god. As it was coming up to that bit, I was like, is she? I was like, is she?
Yeah, and because it's like all blinds and Oracle, and like you realize it was like actually like her and not like the vision blinding the Oracle. And I just thought that like even though it's just light, she used the magic to like help everyone. But what I kind of liked about this, like the way that the power is done, is obviously it saves the day and all that, but the fact that she actually, even with the Starborn power, wasn't powerful on her own, and the power is like just light, like it's not really like that helpful besides like blinding people, but she still like had the determination and the skill to like save the day. And now she's gonna have all access to all these people's powers.
That was such a cool part of that. Like
also, like think about how in the beginning they went to the fountain and like you put a drop of your power in it. That's again something that was like a little detail in the beginning. Also, another thing I want to point out is like how the city runs on people's drop power.
Mm-hmm. Like yeah, like that's the essence from when they do the drop.
Yeah.
I think the drop was a very interesting kind of like concept that she came up with in this, and not something I ever really seen, but since it's not just the drop, but like coming back from it and the idea of the anchors.
Because that's kind of it, like we kind of saw something similar in Throne of Glass, where like they would bury into their power and like go into like the reserve of their power for a few days. Like she would kind of like mention that they would like not use power, be, like dropping into it. So this seems like something similar, except like you only do the drop. And, like you get to choose what age you want to become immortal, which I thought was cool too.
Gives me Twilight vibes.
You can bite me.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to point out this one comment before I forget about it, but Savannah the Bookworm says, I love when Bryce vacuumed Micah up. Literally,
that entire scene.
The fact that it was being live streamed. So
yeah.
I was like, this is happening on a live stream. Like, what a twist. So that all the characters remain like conscious of what's happening. Wild.
Yeah, that was so well done.
They're like powerless to do anything because they're like hours away, but they're just watching it all happen. Like
they kept mentioning 30 minutes via helicopter, 1 hour by flying.
Yeah, you're like
exactly how long it is.
True. And also the fact of like how like the method in which she killed Micah, like with the sword for Danica and like lighting him on fire for Lahaba. That's okay. Can we talk about Lahaba's death?
My heart. It's like you're just moving.
I was like, did she have to die?
Oh my god, but when they almost killed, I forget what the like Sphinx's name is, but when they like threw it in the tank, I was like
shutting the book. I was like,
you got it. I need someone to do fan art of Syrinx so I can like understand what he looks like.
I saw one and it was basically, it looked like a Shar-Pei crossed with a lion.
Oh my god. Yeah, I was impressed though.
The Nox.
And also like this is a very like little detail, but the fact that like Hunt thought that Bryce had like bought Syrinx. Is that how you say it? Syrinx?
Syrinx?
Syrinx.
It's like a designer pet, but she actually like freed him and he's like paying off his debts, but like Syrinx is just like.
That's when I cried when she was telling Lahaba like, "You're free, don't do this." She's like, "Let me do this one thing for you." I was like, mind you, I was working again, and I was like,
Yeah.
What was it that she was repeating something the entire time, like something about like my friends, and I was like, "You're free."
Mantra. She's like, "I'm helping my friends." I don't know, that whole thing.
It was just not okay, guys. It was just not okay.
When I first started reading the book, I went onto what is it called, Wiki Fandom, to look at a picture of Lahaba, and then I got spoiled and I got very angry.
No, never do that.
It's my friends are with me and I am not afraid. My friends are with me and I'm not afraid. Like, bro.
Okay, what did we think about also the secret through love all is possible, and then like the hard is through the L in love.
Yeah.
Had it the horn tattooed on her.
So smart.
Also, all of Sarah J. Maas's characters are always tattooed.
I love that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I love that. Yeah, they always have tattoos. It's always meaningful. So, but the fact that the horn was like in the ink because Bryce is like only the Starborn Fae can use it, so like only Bryce can use like.
I really thought that
Go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry, I really thought that the letters that it was in was the clue, like the like font or alphabet or language that it was written in would be the clue. But like, did she? I can't remember. Did she even touch on that like language, or was it still just said to be just random? Okay, so that's obviously going to be something later on then.
Yeah, it's an ancient language that no one can understand, and that's the reason why they realized eventually that that's what it was, because they were like, they can't even understand what it says, and that's how Micah was like, "Oh my god, that's the horn."
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I also like the fact that they kept repeating the phrase like, "It will be fixed by light that is not light." Like when they kept saying that, I kept thinking of her brother, and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Nah, he's not gonna fix it. He's like a person." And then when they actually like made it clear, like Micah said, like, "You are the horn," I was like, "Of course, of course." Damn it, I should have known it. I thought
it was going to be lightning from Hunt. The entire was like,
Oh, Becca from Anna Bookshell asked us, "What do you guys think about Aedes?" Yeah, we had discussed this earlier, but we think that he's going to be a potential love interest in the future of the series, and definitely going to play a big role. So I'm.
Sarah J. Maas has revealed that he's going to play a really big role.
I would love for Sarah J. Maas to like touch on a morally gray character.
Yes.
Because like I love all of her characters, but all of them are very like true, good humans. Always want the best in others. And I would love for like a morally gray guy to just come and like
kind of got that in ACOTAR, and then it was just like, oh, just being like
Psych, he's great. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. I would love to. Yeah, I did not even think about that. That would be awesome.
Because even though like Hunt, like he, is a fallen angel, he's like painted as this like very like
breakfast, bro.
Honorable guy, I think. Other than the fact that he killed people, but he had to. So
his betrayal, that like him wanting.
Oh my god, I was shocked at that. I did not expect that.
No, that shocked me. And also, I also think something's going to come back. You know, the chick who was thrown into the bottle, into the ocean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
not dead.
She's not dead.
No.
So
maybe the demon will get her from the ocean.
Yeah, they do have the friend that's in the like house of the water one. I don't know what they're called.
The mermaid. The mermaid.
Yeah.
Merman. Rexion? Therian.
It's
he's going to be something. Yeah. He's going to be in the future too, I think.
I think that if Sarah J. Maas were to pull the whole thing that she does, where like you think the love interest is this one, but psych, it's this one. I think that the betrayal that Hunt did would come back in some sort of way where maybe it was like worse than we realized. If she was trying to make us not like Hunt, like I love Hunt, and I think it's like I'm happy where it is. But I think if like that Prince of Hell just happened to come up in there, maybe playing up with the betrayal part would be the only thing that would like make me be like, oh, okay, geez.
There's gonna be like
I don't like Hunt
about him, and it's gonna be like, oh, we can't be together anymore. Like, I hate you now, blah blah blah. And then maybe they'll get back together later, or maybe there'll be a different interest. Like, I don't know. Like by the end of this book, I was just like, I love them together. They're perfect together.
Yeah,
I want this couple to succeed. But it's book one. It's book one.
No,
I think they're going to break up at the end of
I was like,
I just said I think they'll break up at the end of book 2. She'll be with someone else for book 3, and then maybe they'll get back together in book 4, and that'll be endgame.
do that. I don't like it. I can't ship 2 couples at once. Like I
don't think we're going to ship the couple that is in book 3. I don't think it.
Yeah,
It'll be like sort of like a placating one. Like
okay.
I don't know if it's that Adis guy. Like I'm pretty into it.
He's really hot.
I saw some good fan art, so
I have to. Yeah, send me them.
Becca says, I don't know why I always love evil characters. Like, ADS seems sketchy, but I love him already.
Yes.
Thank you. Same. A good way. He's like, come and find me after you make the drop. Like, he knew that some shit was gonna go down, and that like she's actually more powerful than she lets on, and now she is, and like.
There's just so much to the story with like evil characters. A well-written evil character. Like there's so much more to the story, and that's why they can be so much more intriguing. Like it's just like Hunt's not gonna stand a chance if like Adis has a good story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, I'm not talking about for like Bryce, I'm talking about like for me as a reader. Like Adis has a good story, like Hunt doesn't stand a chance. Like I don't know.
What did we think of Sabine and what was her other name? Emily? I wanted Emily to die quickly.
Yeah, I wanted them both to die. I'd be like, peace, you guys suck.
Yeah, they were the worst.
I feel like Sabine's gonna die a really satisfying death later on. So, like, or she'll get a redemption arc, but I just I'm ready for her to like.
I thought she was going to at one point in the book, and then I was like, no.
Okay, I love the part when they were like running around the city to like fight, and well, yeah, that part, but also the part where she's like alone, and Sabine is like, there's no wolves in like the central city, and like he points to Bryce on the screen and is like, there's a wolf, and I'm just like,
it's like a true wolf, and I was like,
oh, I was like, okay.
Her sword, by the way, Monica's sword.
Oh yeah. What about it? Like, is it going to be important?
Well, I hope that she gets to keep it.
Oh yeah, I hope she gets to keep it. Like, I knew that it was just like chilling in the gallery, like the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah. I also also the fact that she made a deal with the Reaper guy, like. How she basically gave up her afterlife for Danica to like get in because she didn't know Danica was gonna get in by herself. Like I think that's gonna come back into play certainly, and like is it the Under King? Like I think he's gonna play a role in the future as well.
I think I saw in that same interview that she mentioned that we will definitely get a peek into that eventually, like that that area that like the undead zone that no one goes into.
I think it's really interesting to have a like defined afterlife because I feel like authors don't touch that. They're like, we just don't know what happens, and they're like, oh, you like go across the river and like you either get tipped over and like peace out, or you get to like have a little piece of your soul live on. So
not just peace out; it's you get tipped over and things eat you. You're done.
Yeah.
God, could you imagine? Oh, thank you.
No. Also, we got a question in the very beginning that we never answered, and that is, who was your favorite character? So why don't you guys Answer the question.
Bro, what?
Okay, like I want to say Bryce. Like, is that bad? Because like
I love
there's
that.
definitely characters. Yeah, there's characters that intrigue me, like her brother and Adis. I love him. And then the Viper Queen really intrigued me. But no matter what, in the end, just being in Bryce's head was so nice, and we got to know her. Like we knew her soul by the end when we were reading it. That I genuinely felt like it was a good, well done character that I genuinely enjoyed reading. And like, there's a lot of the times where I'm reading, especially YA, that I like can't stand the like protagonist, and the other characters are more redeeming. And that was so not the case here.
Yeah, I love Bryce. I feel like in her books, like the main characters are just like always my homegirls, and I feel like it's the same thing for this book. Like you just have such this strong sense of who she is as a person. It's hard not to like her while you read it. And I don't know. I also really liked Rune. I'm interested to see what happens between him and the Witch Queen.
Bro, that surprised the crap out of me. I did not see her being that
Same.
Okay, so here I was confused, and I thought the Viper Queen was the Witch Queen, and I'm like, oh yeah, but like, and then she was like revealed as the Queen, and I was just like, oh wait, yeah, like why would the Viper Queen, that's literally like a viper transformy shifter person, be the Witch Queen? Like I don't know. I guess because it was like in that area, like the witch area. I don't know. I'm also really interested to see like with Jasiba, is that how you pronounce it?
Jessica?
How she like was a witch and then like joined the Underking, and now she's a sorceress.
Bro, she's like hella powerful. She was talking to Ida at the very end. Like,
yeah. Like, oh yeah, that last scene, like there's definitely
the library, guys. The
library.
That's a remnant of like old times.
Yeah.
And like there's something special in there, remember? Because then they still didn't mention it towards the, like, even though throughout the entire time there's something in there that we still don't know that they're protecting. That there's a specific something.
Book of Breathing.
Swear to God.
Oh, wait, what's the thing that was in the library in Akamoth? What's the name of the thing? They let him out for.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about? The what?
Not a Braxis.
Not the bone carver Braxis?
Right. It's
yeah,
not
Braxis.
Braxis? Yeah.
It's Braxis and Abraxos, right? Like Abraxos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't they have that in the library too?
In Alchemath, yeah, it was like the thing that was chilling at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
But
The library has a portal to Alchemath.
Yeah, I think this one, like, they're definitely guarding like some sort of book or something that's like important.
Yeah.
Well, I saw another Tumblr post, okay, and one of at the very end, like when she's looking at those books and she sees the Book of Breathing, she also sees a book called The Queen of Many Faces. And because there's still an unnamed book that Sarah J. Maas is writing that recants things to do with what happens after the Throne of Glass series that she mentioned, the Tumblr post said that The Queen of Many Faces is probably going to be the name of that book because that's literally what she is.
Who, Aelin?
She is the Queen of Many Faces, bro. She had like 4 different
names. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Some Daenerys Targaryen thing.
True.
Yeah, I love that as a name, though.
Yeah. Wait, so we're getting another Throne of Glass book that's not, but it's not that encyclopedia. Like, we're getting another just like book.
I remember what I saw. I'll see if I can find. I'm pretty sure I screenshot it and I'll text it to you later. I cannot remember.
I know that we're getting the like ACOTAR continuation, but it would make sense if there was a Throne of Glass continuation.
Like
I could see
it's like
Throne of Glass that like checked in on the characters 10 years after the events of Kingdom of Ash, like forever ago, and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. I don't even think it has a release date anymore.
Remember that Charlie Bowater was working on the art and that. I think that was one of the really big things that she's working on. That's the biggest part that hasn't been. because it's not just like a book you read. Like I'm probably guessing like mythology books used to get like as a kid, those like massive things. Like that's what I'm imagining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not even listed on here anymore. Okay, also, side note, but I want to know, what do you guys think of the cover changes for the Avatar series?
No,
I love it.
Nope.
I hate them. I hate them.
I like
yeah.
it.
People are like so mixed on it.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I prefer, I can't remember if it's the UK or the US better. There's one of them I don't prefer because
I
one
thought
of
it
them,
was like hardback and paperback.
you know,
There's
but one of them
different
has
ones.
different colors. One of them has distinctively red and yellow, and the other one's red and gray. And I don't want red and yellow.
I like the gray ones
The
better.
gray I'm fine with. Do not pick red and yellow.
Look better than the hardback, if I'm remembering correctly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't really
I
love
just
it, though.
like.
I
I
understand.
don't know, man.
They're trying to rebrand them as adult books. Because
I like that.
in
Yeah,
the
especially with the
that's
Nest book coming out. I think that's
so, like, now I'm like sad because the books aren't gonna match the
Those
original.
covers don't look anything like the series, though.
Yeah.
It's true.
Is it
Like, I
really
read
has-
that it's like an adult book, but couldn't you have just made it more like the Crescent City cover rather than like Catcher in the Rye? I don't know.
I just honestly, I love the original covers. Like, I think I did a video so long ago about like the top 10 book covers,
They're
and like that was
iconic.
they're the reason I read the book was because the covers
I
were
just like
so
love, like,
good.
with the dresses and like
Yeah.
and like the fact that we're not gonna get that, and like we could have gotten like I don't know, like it could have been
Nesta.
seen, yeah, like
could have even been Cassian's wing. That would have been dope.
they should hire you to design the covers.
Bloomsbury, hire me. I applied for a summer internship, but that's not happening anymore.
I just don't like books with people on it. Like, this is cool because she looks like a statue. Like, look at her. She looks regal, like a goddess. But I just don't like.
Okay, yeah.
I don't-
Who is this on the cover?
I was.
Who is this on the cover?
Is this supposed to be Danica?
No, I think it's supposed to be the goddess Cathona. My thought. So like when you're in the four houses of Midgard, and it's called like House of Earth and Blood, shifters, humans, witches, ordinary animals, and many others to whom Cathona called, as well as some chosen by Luna. It's like those old gods that like
Oh, okay.
I don't know why, but I think it's just like supposed to be the different,
No, I can see that.
because it's not any character that we actually like know of.
Yeah.
It might be the statue of that lady in the temple, Luna.
Oh, or it could be Luna, yeah.
Oh my god, it's so pretty on the inside.
Okay, also, I want to let you guys know that as soon as Danica died, because under House of Flame and Shadow, it says necromancer. So my vlog comes out tomorrow, and it's literally in my vlog. I sat there for like 5 minutes, and I then go, necromancer! Back to life, necromancers!
Should we like go over our all over review?
All over review and your star rating, and do you think it's overhyped or not? Okay, you can go first since you just stuck your hand out.
That's my 5-star hand.
It's so weird seeing your hand without nails.
Too soon.
It's weird. I've never seen you without nails.
I literally, Soleil calls them child hands now, and I go,
Yeah.
like I still look at them. It's been I think it's been like 2-3 weeks now, and I just don't feel like these are my hands.
I saw a Snapchat like memory of me with my nails painted, and I'm like, I miss like, and it was like the gel or like some things. I don't do acrylics, but it was like the nice thing. And I'm like, my nails are so firm. I don't have that anymore. Even though I don't usually paint them.
Mine are always so ratty. Like, what's nail polish? I picked that off.
Yeah, I go through phases of doing my nails and not doing them. So, anyways, back to your review, Maddie. Sorry, I made fun of you.
You're allowed to. No, yeah, 5 stars for me. I definitely love how emotionally attached she made me get to these characters, and how it was like such a slow development over the book. And Bryce was just a character that I instantly connected with, just everything that she'd struggled and just the way that she made me feel. I wanted to say actually I want to say this earlier is the fact that she's mentioned at the very beginning, she gets her nails done and she wears high heels all the time, and it was just something that like I related to so quickly, and then just like the trauma she'd gone through and just everything just made me love this book so much. And I get why it can seem overhyped, and I feel like that just comes from the fact that it's Sarah J. Maas's name on it. But it's definitely very different from anything else she's ever done. And because of that, I thought it was just phenomenal. And the way that she crafted everything and kept you guessing, unless, you somehow managed to figure it out, not someone. But I thought she did a great job. And it's so hard to put into words, like the way that this book makes you feel without just blubbering on for like hours.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of like skim through like my review and give thoughts, like because I have it open on my Goodreads here, and like general closing remarks. Okay, so let's see. So in the beginning of the book, there's definitely a lot of world building. But I liked the world building. I thought it was done in a way that it was just weaved into the story. So even it wasn't like it was a little info dumpy, but not like in a bad way. But you need to kind of have that in the beginning of a fantasy series. And I think that if you're a reader of more adult fantasies, you'll find that that kind of world building is more common. But if you're someone that is coming to the genre because you're a Sarah J. Maas fan and you mostly read YA, it could be like something that is different and that like you would maybe get a little bogged down by in the beginning. But honestly, like at page 50, like a murder occurs, so I feel like things just like go pretty quick. And again, like there's so many little tidbits. She's just really thoroughly plans, and just from seeing her past series, I know that she has dropped hints in this book for things that are going to become important that we thought were throwaway words, going to become a huge part of the story later on. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. I thought that the world itself was one of my favorite aspects of the book. I just thought it was really unique. I haven't seen anything like it done especially in the genre of adult. If anyone has any recommendations for books that are like of a similar genre where it's like urban high fantasy, I would describe it as an urban high fantasy.
Yeah,
urban high fantasy. She's made a new genre for herself.
I would still throw paranormal in there a little bit, but
yeah, a little paranormal. Yeah, I just thought that was just really unique and really drew me into the book. And then even though it was really long, I never felt bored. I literally read the whole thing in 2 days, and I just didn't put the book down for like the whole time that I read it because I couldn't. Let's see. I love the characters. Like there's just, I feel like we didn't even get to touch on this as much, but like Bryce's mental health.
Oh, your volume's going weird.
I didn't do anything.
Is it good now? Oh.
Wait, what?
Is that me? No?
Is that me?
I heard a door opening.
Oh, that was
Oh,
mine.
that was me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Touch on this as much, but obviously like Bryce struggled so much with her grief, and this is a book about like grief that seems impossible to recover from, and how this book shows her like she's literally living as a shell. She was suicidal, and it deals with her mental health journey, kind of almost similar to Akamath. That's I think a reason why Akamath really with a lot of people, and Air of Fire as well. Like those books that kind of chronicle a character's mental health journey, I feel like tend to be really strong books for her because she's really good at doing it. And I'm interested to see like how the emotional journey of Bryce continues now that she's kind of dealt with the grief a little bit more. But I definitely like seeing in the first book of a series having a character deal with that kind of grief, because usually in her series it's like the later books. So I don't know. I thought that was a really cool aspect, and I liked that we had this high fantasy urban, but it had mental health put in there, which important today, and as well as touching on the slut shaming, I thought was just really done very well and in a very sex positive way, which we need more of, especially in the adult fantasy space. Been dominated by like white men authors, and women are often seen as sex objects in those types of books, and like we don't have women main characters as much. We don't have them like, having this kind of sexual autonomy necessarily. So
And owning your sexuality.
yeah, I agree. Anyways, I love the romance. They connected through their emotional trauma.
The shower scene.
What?
The shower scene.
Yes. When she took care of him.
Didn't that remind you of the scene with Feyre and Rhysand when he like and also like it reminded me of the bathtub scene when like
yeah.
Someone else.
Yeah, she just has like such a way with writing romance, and it's just always so good. It's just always so good. Yeah. So, anyways, obviously, I gave it 5 stars. I don't think it's overhyped at all. I think it's underhyped for how good it is. I think it deserves more hype, and I think that people. I think that people tend, especially if you are involved in this community, people can sometimes go into a book with an unconscious bias based on like community book. And I think that because Sarah J. Maas is so popular, people like to hate on her. And if that's like your opinion, it's still totally valid. But I think that if you're a person that is fresh and comes to the series, you could be expecting it to be bad. And then look for the things that are bad in the book. And I see this happen over and over again where like a book will come out, people will give it very good reviews, and then a few people will give it very bad reviews, and then everyone starts giving it bad reviews.
Girl, yeah. That's such a good point.
The same criticisms, and like it's just human nature. Like there's nothing that like, but if you're just like constantly reading all the bad things about a book, and then you pick up the book with all of these things in mind, you're going to look for those things, and it's going to
for sure
enjoyment of the series. So I think that whenever there's a new Sarah J. Maas book, it is just bound to happen within our like niche community. But if you like go outside and look at Goodreads reviews from people that are just like casually reading, like it has like a very let me see the average rating on Goodreads. It has a 4.49 rating on Goodreads out of 35,254 ratings. Like clearly, like there's less than 34,000 booktubers.
Wow.
So
yeah,
you can just see that like the general population, when you don't have these people that you watch and that you like listen to their opinions, and like if you like a booktuber, you value their opinions, and you might go based on their opinions. If you don't like have that, you just pick up this book because you're like a reader and you like adult fantasy, you could probably go into it with less of a bias, and therefore the general population probably likes it more than BookTube does.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Let's not forget that like this book was part of like this like littlest little BookTube drama because someone rated it. This was like when it first came out, but someone rated it as 1 star and they didn't read the book yet. They just were like, Sarah J. Maas has way too many 5-star reviews on this. I have to even out the playing field. Like,
I literally did not know that happened.
That did, yeah. But I could not tell you who it was, but that like it just goes to show that like it is our niche community that we would see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
and that is the source of a lot of the book drama that occurs. It's all very niche. And I think that sometimes we need to like step outside the BookTube bubble and get some fresh
air.
Yeah.
And like that's why if I see a book that like people are hating on a lot, that like was getting positive reviews at first and then is getting negative reviews, like I won't want to read it when people are giving negative reviews, because I just I just don't want that like constantly on my mind while I book. Like I want to go into it fresh. That's kind of like how we read Wicked Saints for our first live show. Yeah, and like it was like all the ARC reviews great, and then it started coming out, people started having negative opinions on it, which like people are entitled to their negative opinions, but I think the way that your opinion is formed is based on what you are looking for when you go in to read. and like we are just inherently biased people. It's very hard to avoid having those biases sometimes.
Unconscious bias.
Yeah, unconscious bias. So the fact that we read it like later on, and even when I was reading it, like I knew that there was this kind of like back and forth in general opinion on BookTube on that book. It was still like removed enough from the time when everyone was talking about it that I felt like I could like peacefully form my own opinion. And
even Serpent and Dove, we read it,
Yeah.
everyone loved it, and then all of a sudden it's the worst book ever written. It's so sexist and all of this. I'm like, I love this book, but I can't even talk about it because someone will crucify me.
Yeah.
you feel like you can't talk about the books that you like because someone pointed out something about it that like maybe it's like slightly problematic in some way, but like if you didn't pick up on it when you were reading it, or like you can acknowledge the problematic aspects of it but still overall enjoyed it, like, but like the nuances like do not get translated over to Twitter.
No, for sure.
Sometimes you just like don't even want to speak about a book because of the way that people are perceiving it on that particular platform. So it sucks that we feel that way sometimes, but
at least we're all in agreement on it. Hey, I'll give my rating and review.
by the way, I would give it 10 million stars if I could.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I gave it 5 out of 5. It is definitely one of those things that like what like Karina said, like when it was getting near the end of it, like you're like, I'm not ready for this to be done yet. Like I still want to live in this world, because that's the thing, and like that's why I really enjoyed it, is the world that she created felt like even if I wasn't Bryce, or I wasn't like Hunt, or if I like that wasn't my narrative, I could still live in this world and live my everyday life. Like it was so well done and well created that it just felt like it gave the idea of an everyday life, and even Bryce's everyday life kind of thing.
Yeah, you know how people are like, you know, like, I would like to live in the fantasy world, but I'd probably die. Like I feel like I could live in Crescent City and like live in.
Maybe I wouldn't.
Yeah, maybe I would just have a nice life.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think it's overhyped. If anything, I think I agree with Katie in the fact that like it might be underhyped in a way. Just like it deserves the love it gets and should get more love. So
yeah.
Okay, I'll go next. So I'll start this off by saying I have a new rule, and that is I'm literally only allowing myself to give a book 5 stars if it's like a favorite book.
Fair enough.
So I used to not be that way, and I don't think either way is right or wrong. I'm just like trying to stay more organized in my brain almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. So originally I did give this 5 stars, and then like a week later I just wasn't thinking about it as much. And in my mind, if I continue to think about a book, then I know how much I loved it.
Yeah.
Like I just read earlier this month The 100,000 Kingdoms, which is an adult fantasy, but I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying.
Oh, is that N.K. Jemisin?
Yeah. And I cannot stop. Still, I can't stop thinking about like little things like that.
I need to know because I love. Have you read her? Sorry, this is like a tangent, but have you read?
Oh, we got them signed last year at BookCon, but I hadn't read
I read it in college, back before I even knew like what BookTube was, and like phenomenal series. Anyway, back to what you're doing.
So I am sticking with 4 stars. There's a lot good about this book, a lot that I loved. I really liked Bryce. I really liked side characters like Lehaba, however you say her name. Rune, I thought was super interesting. Even Micah was super interesting. I was very cued into the story, like almost always. But I didn't I realized afterwards that I wasn't really into Hunt and Bryce. I was more so into them just hooking up. Like I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And it just like it had great sexual tension, and the chemistry was there, like the sexual chemistry. But I guess probably it's because I liked him. I just was never
You were looking
in
for
love.
the romance.
I like that's like food for thought. Like, are you there for them together? Are you there for them for the sexual tension and for them just to
Yes,
like,
I couldn't. I don't know. Like I don't know if I'd care if they work out, which is sad.
Huge.
But
Yeah.
maybe you would like it better if there was a different love interest.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe
Yeah.
which is because like I was so angry when I was reading like ACOTAR series and when I was reading like the Throne of Glass series. Like so many love interests. Can we just like stick with one? But I think it would keep my attention way more if the series shifted and somebody new came in.
And we got more evil. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But with all of that, like I genuinely did enjoy it. I will continue on with the series. Like I'm excited for the next book. I like it'll definitely be a series I enjoy. But I definitely, other than that, there was a couple of other things that I think are more subjective. Like I was all like the world building at the beginning was very confusing to me. Like I couldn't understand what the gates were for a really long time. And I think that's just me. That's the way I was reading it, and I wasn't picking up on certain things. I don't want to sit here and complain though, because I did enjoy the book. I think it was a good book. I liked the characters. It's just it wasn't a 5-star read for me personally, and I felt like I had to.
Mind.
But do you think it's overhyped?
Oh, okay. I don't know if I can really answer that. I think it is a good book. I would recommend it to others. I don't think it's overhyped, but I don't know if I feel strongly the other way either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Probably just because I didn't have like a serious connection with it. But I would recommend it to other people. I would tell them to go out and read it. So no, I don't think it's overhyped.
Do we think at the level of hype that a book gets on BookTube is different based on whether it's YA or adult? Because if it was a YA Sarah J. Maas book, I think there would be in general different response. But I think that the fact that it's an adult book might stop a lot of people from picking it up.
Yeah, for sure.
800 pages is daunting for like a first series, so that could keep people from picking it up too.
I do want to quickly mention, because you literally made me think of this as you were speaking, but there was one time in this book that I sat there and I questioned Sarah J. Maas, and that was, and you're all going to remember this now, that scene where he talks about her feet.
Oh my god.
Oh, her feet. And I was like, Sarah, why? Why?
People have things that they like. I don't know.
You're allowed.
I think
it was something I was expecting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but I think Kendra makes a good point in saying like maybe not rating it 4 stars in my rating scale. But I think that if I was looking back on like reading this and how I felt when I was reading ACOTAR for the first time, I was so engulfed. I was like, this is my favorite series. I had such a book hangover when I finished it that I knew it would be my all-time favorite series. Like I was balls deep in that. But when I'm reading this, like I loved it. I really enjoyed it, but I know that it doesn't compare to how much I love like ACOTAR.
Yeah, but for me, like I also think it's a different experience of reading a series when all of the books are out and it all meshes together in your head. Whereas like with ACOTAR, like I loved it and I flew through it, but I didn't have that emotional connection until the second book. So, like, and with Throne of Glass too, as well. Like I think Heir of Fire is when I really, really started getting connected to the characters. So like I'm curious to see like how this goes, how I will feel over time with the series, reading them as they come out instead of like reading them all at once. I would love for when the last book in the series comes out to like read it straight through, read 1, 2, 3, 4. But I could definitely see myself reading this book again because I think I will pick up on more. I actually really want to reread Throne of Glass now or ACOTAR.
Yeah, reread ACOTAR, it gets so much better.
Oh, rereading ACOTAR is so much fun. Like I did that. All of them. It's kind of funny because I went into ACOTAR because I was already such a hardcore Throne of Glass fan, and it was like back like during high school when I started the series, and so I was like already on Tumblr during that time, so I already knew about Aquamath because like of all the fan art and things that had gone on for that. So I kind of went into that series having that already known. Whereas that's why I think Throne of Glass has like such a different space for me personally. I mean, like I got got a tattoo of it. So like there's like a specific thing, but also because I was reading Throne of Glass like as it specifically came out. I feel like that's going to be a similar experience for me reading this. Is it so much more different when you're reading a book like piece by piece? Whereas
I'm very interested in how you were like into Throne of Glass, but you didn't pick up Avatar until like later.
Yeah.
I know.
I thought you would be the type to just like buy everything Sarah J. Maas.
Well, hey, I was a bit different in high school. I wasn't this crazy bitch who buys 3 copies of every single book.
True. Yeah, I also think it's interesting is because going into both Throne of Glass and Avatar, I knew who the endgame couple was. So like I would always see a romantic relationship and I wouldn't get attached because I was spoiled for so many things and like I still
shocked out of me. I was
but like I had never seen like a book series do a switcheroo like that. Like no other person did that.
I don't know if you remember this, Michelle, but like when I was reading Akatar for the first time, which was like a year and a half ago, I messaged you and I was like, I just saw fan art of I never say right because I don't like her name. I always say like Fair because I think it's anyways, long story short.
Yeah.
I messaged her, I was like, I just saw fan art of Fair with somebody else. Like, please tell me this isn't but I told her, I said on the DM, I was like, I'm not in love with Tamlin, but like, I don't know how to shift to somebody else. Like, I was like, please help me.
I just remember being like, it's okay. Like, she does it well. Like, you'll be so happy about it when you get there.
In the book of Throne of Glass, we go through like a bunch of different love interests at like once. And then you're like, oh, I love this one. I love that one. And then all of a sudden, when the end game guy comes in Air of Fire, I'm like, am I supposed to like him because I kind of hate him? Why does everyone like him?
Yeah, I will admit that was a really fun experience. Like getting to know the Throne of Glass and like, I'm really glad that I didn't know about the end game, even though and that's a big difference between knowing that end game and knowing like the Akamath end game because it's a shorter series, so it's not as intense, but
yeah,
it's crazy.
Karina, did you give your rating yet?
Not yet, darling.
You go ahead. You go right ahead. We got to wrap this up at some point.
Right then, we're all very hungry. So I love the book. Absolutely love it. It's honestly battling between Akamoth, like for the first, like literally my favorite book. That's how much I like it. And I think the biggest thing for me is the world. That was the one thing that with Sarah J. Maas in particular, I love her, favorite author. Like I have a shrine, here you go. But the world was always like, it was always missing something for me. And this world was so immersive. Like I said in the beginning, every single detail, the way that it worked. And like you could see yourself in it. Like Michelle said, like I would literally move in a second if I could. But yeah, it was very, very good. I don't know how to describe it. This book made me feel deeply, and that's how I know that I like a book, when I feel it in my heart. Like it's a different feeling when you're just reading a book and it's cute or whatever, but like when you really like it like changes you, and like when someone dies or like someone's going through something, it really hurt, especially with Bryce. Like I could relate through a lot of her struggles. Mind you, there are some trigger warnings in there. Like I felt triggered a couple of times where it was like, oh, I wish I knew about this, but I didn't. It's okay. She handled everything great. It was painful, especially like the main mental health situations. Like it was hard to read, but I think it's important because it's nice to have like a character that is a girl and has gone through a lot and she's still freaking thriving her ass. It was important to see that, you know, you can go through a lot and still end up being a sane person, especially in high fantasy and in adult where it's not as bloody as adult, where like we have Mia and she freaking kills everyone because she's hurt, but she's still sane. When it comes to Hunt, I'm kind of like, after Kendra said that, I was like,
I know.
Yeah.
because as soon as the scene with the betrayal happened, I was like, all right, next love interest. Like, I kind of found myself saying, like, do I want her to end up with him? Especially when she kept, like, oh my God, it hurt me so much. When she was laying down her life for him, I was kind of angry. I was like, I didn't see it as, wow, you're laying down your life for a man, like the way that she kind of saw it, because I never saw it that way. It was kind of like, do I support this? Do I want her to risk everything that she is, everything that she has overcome for him? So, like, I didn't know. But overall, it was very good. I would recommend it, and I would not say that it's overhyped. I want to get a tattoo. I want to get something.
Wow.
It's very,
Okay,
very good.
Before we go, I totally forgot to mention this, but as speaking of a character that's probably going to come back in, her ex-boyfriend that she breaks up with in like the second scene,
Yeah.
he's gonna play a big role.
Like their own synth. Like the
Yeah.
I never even thought of that.
For him to come back in this book, like he caused problems, so I know it's gonna happen. Like,
oh yeah. Okay, well, I think that's it for tonight, guys. I really have to pee, so.
We'll discuss a book for next month. Potentially, let's do Ruthless Gods, but we'll talk about that.
It's such a good book. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it right now, so maybe we'll do it next month. I'm in the middle of Ruthless Gods right now.
Oh yeah. I haven't even started that yet.
Katie, literally since I read it, I was like, "Can you pick it up?"
I'm telling them the same thing.
But I'm gonna read a lot tonight.
What?
I just said I'm gonna read a lot of it.
I'll feel better. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So like, keep an eye out for that for the announcement next month. And thank you guys for tuning in to our live stream. This was fun. I'm glad we got to do this and really talk about a book that had a lot to talk about. I think we could keep it for literally 3 more hours.
This is our longest live show.
I know it. All right. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm gonna end the broadcast now.
Bye.